Well, good morning, everybody. I'm Jan Erickson from Stepping Aside, and welcome to Somewhat Daily Tarot and Rune for the 29th day of January, 2019. Well, 29 is a day of illumination. It's an 11 day. Unfortunately, if you're wanting to work magic today and you believe in the older grimoire information that's out there, you can find there's some information on what's called the quality of days. And so there's days where it's there that are favorable or not favorable for magic, and they list them in terms of, I think it's Westcott has them in terms of, is it Westcott? I'm not sure. Anyway, well, it could have been Barrett. But anyway, whichever one it was, they could be listed as very good, you know, sort of bad, or neutral, and very bad, or something like that. Anyway, today and tomorrow are listed as very bad for magic. So I had to laugh when I saw it because I was doing the lunar transits last night for today, and the moon moved into not Scorpio, but Sagittarius. And the Sagittarius are very adventuresome and, you know, not really interested in following the normal path, you know. My husband's a Sagittarius, so I know what these folks are like. They just have their own way, you know, and they're adventuresome, and they just like to do things out of the ordinary, and he certainly does, and probably why he married me. But anyway, I thought, well, that's not going to apply to anyone who's Sagittarian or who responds really well to Sagittarian influences. So what I said in the magical workings section of my lunar transits, I noted that you know, it's really not the best days for it. But you know, if you align with that Sagittarian influence, you may not care. You'll do it anyway. So anyhow, probably the mansion of the moon is more favorable for tomorrow than today, but make that Mars energy work for you. Or not. Anyhow, we had some unseasonably warm weather of late here. Theoretically, you know, it should be really cold, and it wasn't. It was in the 60s this weekend, and so we got outside, and we have an 800-foot driveway, and so we didn't have to do this on all of it. It was more like, well, maybe 500 feet or so of this area next to our driveway has trees and flowers and stuff in it, and so we have to go and weed eat the whole thing. We're going to be burning the field here before too much longer. Everyone does that around here, and it's not fun, but it does put, you know, the charcoal back into the soil, which helps, you know, to helps with fertilizing and all of that. So anyhow, but we like to prepare for it so we don't have any tall grass around stuff that can, you know, go up in flames. And so we had that happen one year. And after that, my husband started mowing around. He's got one of those John Deere tractors, and he lawnmowers, not tractors, but lawnmowers. And he started mowing an edge around the pasture. So it's really nice. We saw someone else was doing that, and it just looked, I don't know, it just looked nice, you know, clean, had clean lines. It just looked better than having just the grass up next to the fence, growing up next to the fence line. So we did that, and after we did that, it was just so much easier to do the yearly spring burning. So you don't have to worry so much about someone's fence line going up. So in any event, we got to do that, and I got to, I actually I pruned some roses, and I had some big enough sections that I went ahead and I stuffed them into potatoes, and I went ahead and planted them out in the garden. You're supposed to do that when they're dormant, and they're still dormant, so I thought, well, they'll either work or they won't. But the potato is supposed to feed them while they're you know, establishing their roots. So we'll see if that works. So anyway, let's count 13 and see what we have for today. So I hope everybody got to get outside if you could. I know right now there's some kind of polar vortex going on back east, and that's awful. Well, we're having, weather where I'm out in a couple of camis and shorts working outside in January of all times. That's weird. But we actually got that warm. My husband's in his short sleeve shirt, and we're just out there like it's summer. Not so much today, though. Today's pretty gloomy. This is the day I go to the dentist for the root canal in the crown. So anyhow, let's count 13 and see what's going to happen today. Well, we've seen this one before, and I'm going to go ahead and draw another card here in a second after I talk about it. But this is the Five of Cups. So we may still be experiencing some loss. As we said before, 5 is about change. So something has changed here. You've got 3 overturned cups spilled onto the ground. Looks like his house or castle is in the distance there. You see an arched stone bridge over the little river that's right there. 2 cups stand behind him. He's not paying any attention to them. Here he's just really lost in emotion. Something has changed, and it's a very emotional type of a change. So, and one that's not, joyous. In other words, sometimes that can be a good thing, and maybe this will ultimately turn out to be a good thing. But let's pull another card just to see if we can get a little more information. In a sense, he's looking, to the left, so that would indicate the past. So maybe something has just happened in his life, it's brought great change, and he's just bereft over it all, doesn't know what to do, can't really see what he still has. It reminds me of the 4 of Cups, where the guy's back is up against the tree, and one cup's being offered through the clouds. He can't see that. The others are on the ground. He can't see what he has. He's just really wrapped up in his own thing. Well, here, when emotions are out of balance, when there's too much water energy, too much water element energy moving through you, then sometimes, your emotions take over. It's one thing to, have head and heart in balance, mind and emotions in balance, but because you always want emotion to influence, but sometimes it just has too much of an influence and we can't really see anything clearly. So clarity goes away. So that's probably what's going on here. Or it's just simply acknowledging that something has happened and it's causing great distress for in our lives. So hopefully, paychecks are coming out, but I don't think they have yet. I'm not sure why, but maybe it just takes a little more time than I think it should. But, just press send. Let it go out to the banks. Well, we have the Fool, card 0, with the major arcana. So here, as we know, the Fool is undeveloped potential. The Fool is ready to take that leap of faith into form. We still see spirit up above. You don't see the blue sky yet of form, because here, of course, we don't have a yellow sky. So this is still where he's still in thought, basically, in his old thought energy, deciding, okay, I'm going to do it. I'm going to go into form one more time. I have more to learn, more I want to experience. So here we're going to go back. His dog is at his side. So we think undeveloped potential. So, excuse me. So it looks like either we were on the precipice of something new and maybe it didn't work out or it's not working out yet, or this is what's coming next, that it's telling us that even though maybe things seem really bad right now and we're really upset, that something new is on the horizon, and something new could be forming. Something new is in Genesis, if you will. So perhaps, let's do another card. Uh, Perhaps all is not lost. I think sometimes our emotions get the better of us, and we really, it narrows everything down to the point that we really can't see the other options that are out there. And so clearly there's more here that's left for us in life. It's not all over. We may feel like, oh my God, the world is ending, but it's not. And so let's see if we can come up with a direction, though. I will shuffle a little bit. If we can get a little more a little more focus in on what the Fool is trying to tell us. But I suspect that I'm going to look at this in terms of progression. I mean, you can either look at this as still in spirit, or you can look as this as the sun is just rising, but it seems up high enough that we shouldn't still see the sunrise in the morning, should we? But it could also indicate that. So sunrise, maybe. But I like to look at this differently. I just see it differently. I see it as we're on the precipice of jumping into form, of going through that whole vortex into form. So into manifestation. But you can also look at it as morning or the dawn of a new day. I just get a little more esoteric about it, I guess. I was reading one time in Seth Speaks, and I think it was in Seth Speaks, where Seth is saying that, channeling through Jane Roberts, that there's like 3 types of soul energies when it's time to come into form. You get the ones that are real eager. They planned it all out, and they know who their parents are going to be, and they're ready. And so the second mom gets pregnant, they're like right there, and they're just waiting. They're just waiting to come in. Then you get the ones who, and they probably don't come in that quick, but still, they're planning, they're excited, they're eager, ready to go. Then you get the ones that are, willing to, come in maybe a month or so before the birth or whatever. They're like going to wander back in. They're going to come in. Maybe they come in a few times or whatever. And then you've got the ones that are just reluctant to come in at all. They're going to do it, but they really don't want to. And it's like, okay, I really don't want to do this. I think I was one of those where you're just going to kind of hang around. And so you're not fully in the body. So that's kind of how I view empaths, because those of us that still see, I don't view it being an empath as anything special. I don't. I know that it can make us completely insane until we figure out what's going on, that because we think, oh my God, we're just totally emotional people. Well, no, we're really, we are, but we're not. We're actually absorbing other people's emotions, and we think they're ours. And so we're just these emotionally crazy people. Well, no, we're really not. We're actually very intuitive, very down to earth people that see things very practically. But at the same time, we're just picking up all this other stuff, and it's not always easy to figure out what's mine and what's someone else's until you get used to it, and you've come to accept that that's actually what's happening. It's an energetic thing. It's just that some of us don't lose track of that, don't lose awareness of that when we focus into form. And I have to wonder if it's those of us that are reluctant to come in because it's like, I don't want to do that, but in that sense, see, we remember and we still experience that greater collective vibration of source, essentially, because if you believe, as I do, that the creator is all that is and everything is the creator manifested into form, and that includes us. See, we're just little coordinate points of source energy coming in to experience life, right? On behalf of source, on behalf of the creator. Well, in that sense, then, see, we only slow down enough of our energy to form these bodies, basically. The rest of it is still there. And I think what happens with empaths and psychic people, people that can know things that other people don't seem to be aware of, everyone actually has that ability to be aware of all of it. They just needed to have made that choice, and maybe still can. I don't know. I think that you can develop this because we all have these moments of intuition where we know something's going to happen, or we understand the greater, what's really going on in a situation, and maybe other people are just like, what's going on? And we know, see, and we don't know how we know. Well, where is it coming from? Well, it's got to come from the greater resonance, the thought resonance of the creator, because that's all this is manifested thought. So if you look at it that way, then all an empath is really doing is just accessing what we all have the ability to access. We just didn't choose to not do that when we, as they say, pass through the veil into manifested form. Okay, so that's all this is. It's just that we just are reluctant to not remember that stuff, and so we don't. And then of course, growing up, you don't really realize that was a choice you made until later on you figure it out. But the whole thing is that it's not anything that anyone else doesn't have access to. So it's just that some of us made a choice to still be there in that. And so that's why I don't think it's anything special. Anyhow, but it's why I guess I see everything from this standpoint. It's like, no, I'm spirit, not the body. So anyhow, it's when you start functioning within the body that things get dicey. So anyhow, this is the Seven of Swords, which I've always viewed as a theft of intellectual property. Again, eye off the ball, not paying attention. The battle's over. They're out. They're in the tents. They're celebrating. They're drinking. They're doing what they do, what battle-weary soldiers do. They left their swords out there, and someone's taking them. Now, that's if you want to look at these things literally, all right? But swords is the air element, and it's about the mental process. Our intellectual process is about communication, interactions. It can be about, you look at the Three of Swords and that slander and jealousy, drama triangle. So, swords can really get us into trouble when our head, our intellect is not balanced with our heart, because our heart's going to say, wait a minute, you've gone too far here. Don't go there. Pull back. So when you feel like that's happening, that's the heart speaking to you, saying no, or spirit going no. And so anyway, because spirit's connected to heart, so you're going to see that relationship, right? But here, I think that this has to probably do then with what's happening here. So we've been betrayed, and that's why we're bereft. Okay, so that's the order of the cards today. So we'll start out, we were betrayed. We're not feeling so hot about it. We're pretty upset about it, and things are not right in our life. But guess what? Now, I think we're finally at a point today where we can look at this from a personal perspective. I mean, clearly we can look at it from a countrywide perspective as well, with the shutdown and what people were experiencing. But we're in a new day. It's difficult when the guy who controls all of this and ordered it both to shut down and reopen is saying, I'm going to do it again, because I just don't think we're going to get a deal. So I'm going to do it again. So whatever, if he's trying to manipulate the people in the conference committee, it isn't going to work. It just isn't. And all it's doing is causing everybody affected by the shutdown to still be in panic mode. So he's not happy with doing that to people just as he did. No, he wants to keep it going and make them fear it happening again. I guess maybe so they'll put pressure on people to do what he wants instead of what's reasonable. And again, it's dumb, it's stupid, but that's what's going on. So hopefully more indictments will come down, and that will occupy him a little more than worrying about shutting down the government. That's just not the way to do that. You don't affect people's lives that way because you want something the rest of the country doesn't. So there you go. Anyhow, but I think that's what we have here, and we see the progression. The progression back into balance, basically the 7, the 5, the 0. So if you look at that, kind of like a countdown, like 3, 2, 1, and new beginnings. So I think that that's what we have today. And listen, if you guys are playing around with tarot, don't be afraid to move your cards around. You know, we get into this idea of you have to go with a particular spread. It's like, you know, you might do the Celtic cross, or you might do a 3-card spread. It can mean past, present, future. It can mean influences. It can mean any kind of triplicity. You can do an elemental spread of 4 cards. There's all kinds of different spreads out there, and you can define, but here's the thing, people define them the way they do. And there's just a general thing. You've got different influences. You've got, you know, what happened, what maybe what the originating cause was. I mean, you'll find all kinds of things. And as long as you focus your intention on what that is, then the cards are going to, that you lay out, you know, they're going to be meaningful for you. But you don't have to leave them where they are. Okay. I actually like to just do my own spreads. And so I usually, I either like a 3-card spread, or I like a 6-card spread, where I can do 3 influences, 2 masculine and feminine or projective and receptive influences, maybe, or something working for and against, maybe, and then an outcome card. It kind of reminds me of a geomantic shield chart, really. It sort of brings everything down to a final conclusion. I like that one, it may be someone has done that somewhere. I don't know. I just started laying cards out, and that's what I came up with one day. And so, but I can make that be anything I want it to be. And if I don't, and if I see where it looks like some cards need to actually go together to tell a story, then that's what I do. I put it that way. So don't be afraid to move your cards around. Don't leave them in one spot. You know, you may have, but sometimes they need to be there. Sometimes if there's like an interaction going on or a progression, you know, because here, you know, we see kind of a progression that developed, even though I did it backwards, essentially. Started with what's happening now, and then it ended up progressing down to what's going to be. It could have just as easily gone the other way, pulling them. But see, you don't have to leave it that way, is what I'm saying. Sometimes we see cards interacting, particularly with court cards. You have people that interact with one another, and so you don't want to miss that. So even if you had say a bunch of cards all over the table, and say you had them in rows, maybe say you had 3 or 4 rows of 3, maybe, or 4 rows of 4. Maybe you're just doing a huge reading. You might find a court guard down here that might be interacting with one up here. So like I say, don't be afraid to make the cards tell the story, right? If for some reason the order you choose them, you just don't see any kind of relationship, move them around, because you may see it there. This is your reading. So you're not beholden to someone else's idea of what that should be. This is about how you see it. So anyhow, food for thought there. But that's really cool. We almost don't have to pull a rune, but this is somewhat daily tarot and runes, so I have to do a rune. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use my birch runes. Oh, I wanted to show you guys. So I like crystals. What witch doesn't? Anyway, a popolite. I think I'm saying it right. Look at that. Isn't that incredible? I get a lot of my crystals from Healing Crystals. They've just got some really nice stuff. I got this piece of Faden quartz from them. It's really nice. They have a lot of nice stuff. When I made this this orgone pyramid, I have it sitting on just a little thing here. I got all the crystals that I used. They have chips, which is nice to use. But inside this, there's a Merkaba up here at the top. You can't see it because it's inside. You know, when you do these, you do them upside down, and you can layer them when you're working with the polymer stuff. It's not polymer. It's well, I don't know what it is. Anyway, it's really smelly, and you have to do it outside. And you got to use a respirator and all of that because it's really bad. but this has points, quartz points that are about yay long through it. It's got amethyst, it's got citrine, it's got uh, but the little stuff is all clear quartz and amethyst, and I'm not sure what the other one was I used. There was something else that I used in here as well, but it's also got some brass and other metal and stuff like that in it. I kind of stuck it to the bottom of this. This is this polymer clay, and I just made just a little base for this to sit on. But I use this when I do pendulum work. I find that if I don't have to do it that way, but I find that if I hold it over the tip of the pyramid, I don't know, it just seems to work better. Seems to conduct better, but you can kind of see inside there that there's stuff on the inside. But orgone's neat. I like it. I've done some orgone plates. I really like this pyramid. I have another pyramid that's smaller that I did, much smaller. I did that one first. I want to see if I could do it, and I bought this other bigger mold, and I was just terrified. I was like, oh God, what if it doesn't turn out, but it did. I couldn't even be more pleased with it. It's really heavy, but that was the idea, because I wanted to have a really intense crystal focus, and so I keep that on the altar, and I like that real well. Anyhow, let's pull a rune. Enough crystal talk. I can do that for hours. Develop a relationship with your crystals. You can charge them just by holding them in your hand. You don't, and focusing intention. You don't actually have to do it by the moon, but you can. You need to be aware of what's going to work in water and what's going to dissolve in water. So some things you don't want to asperge in any way. You don't want to cleanse them that way. We've got Iwas, our as above, so below rune. I think that being the 13th rune of the major arcana, there I do it again. I do that every time, don't I? Well, not every time, but sometimes. The 13th rune of the Elder Futhark. We're talking, the witch rune, and we're talking. I view it as the number for it's the master witch number 13 is, but that's really about structure. Iwas can be used in buying runes as sort of the backbone for them, tying everything together. It moves energy up and down. The vertical axis between spirit and form. It's both a fire element and an air element rune. The connection between opposites. So here you have the connection between opposites is trying to get a better balance between head and heart. It helps us to understand fate. And that's always kind of, I've struggled with that for a long time until I realized that, and maybe, I don't know, I did the Course in Miracles, and that might have helped to reorder my thinking a little bit about this. But everything is a projection of thought, so you can choose something else. You can, we're basically here just choosing already existent probabilities to experience. And so, Great Mother breathes out the universe, and it all happens at once. All probabilities, all possibilities have occurred, and all we're now doing is going around and choosing them, and choosing the experiences we wish to have. And so if we understand that, then that helps us to understand the fate that we're experiencing. Was it really something out of our control, or did we have control over it all the time? In other words, if we're experiencing something bad, was that something that we wanted to do? Particularly if it's something really serious, was that something that we chose to, that was something we were wanting to experience here in form? Did we choose that before? Did we choose to just simply be part of someone else's experience to assist them with that, and just experience it from that standpoint? Even if we're the focus of it, maybe it's to help other people. Sometimes in dysfunctional families, no matter what's happening there, You know, you have to ask yourself, what's the dynamic? What did everybody agree to do before they came into form? Because surely you wouldn't want to experience these things. But here's the thing, you know, this stuff only gets the value judgment that we give it here. It doesn't exist when we're not informed because there's no ego there. And so the whole notion of something that's good or bad doesn't exist there. It's just something to experience. And that's unfortunately, you know, the duality of experience, because soul's going, yeah, let's experience that. That might be cool. Wonder what that's like. And then, you know, ego's going, are you crazy? You know, what do you want to do that for? But that's, you know, we talk Rune paradox. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about the paradox of spirit going, yeah, man, let's go for it. That might be fun, or at least something to do. Might learn something from that, you know, and then we get here and we're horrified by the whole thing. It's like, no, I don't want to experience that. Why would I want to do that, you know? So it shows that forgetfulness, you know, that we make when we come into form. We don't remember that we're actually spirit here, you know, doing some things that, there's honey on the outside of my cup. We're doing, you know, things that maybe aren't so pleasant. You know, I did that. That's what I chose. I chose things that weren't pleasant. And so, you know, and then I get here and I'm like, what's going on? Why is this happening? Well, because I chose it. That's what I think we do. I think we choose that overall theme in life, you know, or a series of themes. Like, I'm going to be here for other people. One of the things you can look at, or I'm going to be here for myself, you know, it's the whole service to self, service to others idea. Either way is fine. You know, you're going to learn something either way. But obviously, if you're service to self, you know, you're not going to, well, you actually might have the better life than other people because you're not going to be so worried about other people, are you? You're only worried about you. So maybe they do have the better time. I don't know. But there is. That's that whole expression of duality. You know, we can look at it in terms of masculine, feminine. We can look at it, the truth of it, which is spirit versus form, manifested form. There's your true duality. So anyhow, now that I have honey all over my hands, I have some time before I have to go to the dentist. So I'm going to watch the news and see what's going on. But not too much, though, because I need to keep my blood pressure down while I'm at the dentist's office. You guys do that? Does your blood pressure go up when you go to the dentist or when you go to the doctor? Mine does. So it's like, yeah, let's not pay attention to that today. So anyhow, well, like I say, you know, today and tomorrow for magical workings, I don't know. Use your best judgment. If it doesn't work out, you'll know why. I tend to do things anyway. I don't know why I do that, but I do. I think I just have all this, you know, mastery over everything, and so it's obviously it doesn't matter. I can make it happen anyway, you know. Oh, but the other thing I was going to say about the whole Rune paradox issue, it had to do with human design and. You know, there's different things, biorhythm, there's astrology, there's, you know, human design is another one. It's kind of an astrological basis, also uses I Ching for information. It's just a really fascinating, I actually like it better than astrology. But one of the things it looks at is incarnation crosses, what they call incarnation crosses. And your cross is either going to be left angled or right angled. And the bulk of the world of humanity is right angled, and then you have a certain portion that are left angled. I'm a left angled. The right angled folks are ones that are concerned about their own issues here. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're service to self individuals. It just means that that they need to work on some things that are personal. You know, so they're going to be working on personal issues, basically. So don't draw the parallel with service to self and service to others, okay? That's not necessarily the case. The left-angled ones are the ones that are concerned about humanity, that really aren't, you know, here for themselves. They're here more to deal in more humanitarian issues and things like that. And so if you find yourself, if you did your human design chart and you saw that you're a left angle, just know that what that means is that you're just kind of here for other people. You've already accomplished whatever you've set out to accomplish here, probably in form, and now you're just ready to move on to this other perspective, this other focus. I don't think it's something, and this is just my sense. I don't know that it really plays out this way, but my sense is that this is something that is a progressive thing. And so you'll have a certain people that will get to the point where they're just done working on other stuff and they're ready to go into this other focus, maybe. I don't know. But right now we've got an awful lot of people, and because we're having awakening happening on the planet, and because we're going through this whole so-called ascension process, which really is just an awakening to who you are, spiritually, because then frequency comes up, and then all kind, you change densities ultimately, and you have more control. You're not going to reincarnate anymore. You're going to just go where you want to go when you're ready to go. And so consequently, I think it's just a progression in terms of ascension, really. I think eventually you just get to the point where you're soul-wise, evidently, where you're not engaged in that so much, and you're more engaged with others, maybe. I don't know. It's just how I see it, at least at this point, with my limited understanding of it. So it was just the hit I got off of it when I read about it. I think, oh, I wonder if it's that, and so I tend to pay attention to that when that happens to me. So anyhow, so something to think about. Go over to jovianarchive.org, I think it is, com or org. I think it's org. Maybe it's com. I don't know. Jovian Archive, and that's the main part of it anyway, whether it's org or com. And check it out. It's an interesting. I write about it on the blog. There's a human design section on the blog. I've just been really fascinated by it. I find it to be, when you do a natal chart for somebody, I find for everyone in my family that I've done it for myself, I find that it probably is as spot on as any astrological chart would ever be. So there's something to what Ra Uru, who developed, that was the name he took on. He died a few years back. So, but go, there's a lot of videos. A lot of it you have to purchase, but it's not that much money. And if you're really interested in it, I highly recommend it to learn about it. There's a lot of books out, well, not a lot, but by the folks that are the human design folks. They studied with him, and it's just a really interesting thing. And I love that it employs the I Ching in terms of its definitions. So I think that's just very cool. So. Well, I hope I don't sit and have to cough all the time when I'm at the dentist's office. So that won't be fun, especially because they're doing something up top. So that's just going to be just so much fun, won't it? Anyway, well, you guys take care, and check out the blog. The lunar transits are up for today and tomorrow. And where's my mouse? There's my mouse. And be good to yourself. Be good to one another, and we'll get together tomorrow. Blessed be.